Hello and welcome to another daily devotion. I want to call this, hold on. The Little Good and the Bad and the Ugly. This is more of a showdown at the OK Corral text because it's Jesus confronting his opponents in the last week of his life as he's being asked by the chief priests and the scribes, by what authority are you teaching these new things about the law? By what authority are you challenging our authority in the temple? And they try to trap him. They want him out of the picture. You know, do we have to pay taxes to Caesar? I mean, if you say no, you're just seen as a traitor to the state. If you say yes, nobody's going to like you because nobody likes to pay taxes. And so these groups come one and another, firing these questions at Jesus, trying to get him discredited, and for people to realize what, in their opinion, their eyes, is this guy's a false teacher. He's bad for the people. We got to get rid of him. We got to find some way to shut him up. So we have a third group that comes and challenges Jesus in today's lectionary text. It's the Sadducees. Now you might say, what the heck is a Sadducee? Well, it's a religious sect like the Pharisees, like the scribes, teachers of the law, like the Essenes. The important thing to know is the Sadducees are about to set Jesus up with a question to which they don't believe there's an answer. They don't believe in a resurrection. They don't believe in afterlife. So they're asking a complicated resurrection question. They don't care about the answer. They just want to make Jesus look ridiculous in something they already know the answer to. But they're just going to say, well, he's wrong. He's ridiculous because clearly we already have the answer to the question even before we asked it. So here it is. Luke 20:27-38. Some Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to Jesus and asked him a question. Teacher, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, leaving a wife but no children, that man's responsibility is to marry the widow and raise up the children as his own for his brother. Now there are 7 brothers. The first married a woman and died without children. The second, the third married her. And so in the same way, all 7 brothers died childless. Finally, the woman died too. So in the resurrection, which we don't think exists, whose wife is she going to be? How are you going to sort that out? She's got 7 brothers who've all been married to her. Jesus said to them, those who belong to this age marry and are given in marriage. But those who are considered worthy of a place in that age and in resurrection from the dead neither marry or are given in marriage. Indeed, they can't die anymore because they're like angels and are children of God, being children of the resurrection. And the fact that the dead are raised, Moses showed in the story about the bush, where he speaks of the Lord as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, present tense, my addition. Now he's not a God of the dead, but of the living. For to him, all of them are alive. Jesus takes their question and says, I'm not going to answer your silliness. I'm not going to get caught up in your mental gymnastics here. You don't have the first clue. You can't handle the truth. You don't have the first clue about life and death, and you're asking me in a disingenuous way about how God sorts out and organizes things in terms of relational, marriages. And he says, but you don't even believe any of this stuff in the first place. What you need to know is death has no hold over anybody in heaven. And, it's kind of like the Sadducees are asking, what people sometimes say, well, if God is all powerful and God can do anything, can God make a rock that God can't move? All right, Weisenheimer. It's a legitimate question, but Jesus knows their intention is to discredit and to dismiss. And he's saying, relationships with God and with each other are so much different than here on earth. And they're not bound by time or place, finite. ending in beginning and ending. You know, I met her or him, they're here or there or at this function, and then he or she, we had these years together and then they died. Now what? She said, there is no death. There is no now what. It's all about life and restoration. So he takes their question and he turns it on end. And again, in this week of All Saints, says that kind of like an iceberg, Sadducees, you just see what's on the surface. You don't realize that the bulk, the majority of life is so much more underneath the water. It's like in these living days, you've read the prelude of the book that God is writing with you in your life, but all the chapters are yet to come. Food for thought on this All Saints week as we go through our lectionary readings and our daily devotions. Thanks for being with us.